So this is the YerYork little personal home pressure washer. I did take this as a free promotional product because I've been kind of wanting some type of basic pressure washer. I had one of those little Karcher ones, which was, I guess, one of the more popular brands, but it died like the second time I used it, but I bought it used. Simple machine. They are really cheap, about 120 bucks. I mean, the advantages, holds everything generally together. As far as this brand, I've been offered these a few times. This one seemed a little bit smarter because it has a 25-foot pressure hose and a 35-foot power cord. So I've seen some of these where they had like 6-foot power cords or 8-foot. It's just kind of crazy. So at least this one actually has enough length. And a quick side note, using one of these super flexible hoses is a lot better with these because then they're less likely to tip over. But they have the mountings low. They've kind of improved the design. It has a pretty wide wheelbase so that you can drag it around and it's less likely to tip over. It does have a thermally protected motor, but it's strangely devoid of saying how many amps it pulls. I think somewhere on the Amazon website they're claiming 3,500 PSI, which is... The problem with pressure ratings is it depends on flow rate and peak achievable pressure against static achievable pressure against pressure under flow. A 3,500 PSI gas-powered pressure washer will move gallons a minute while maintaining 3,500 PSI. This thing may hit a instantaneous peak. I actually have hydraulic gauge sets with a whole bunch of fittings, but they're all for heavy equipment, and I couldn't find anything that would actually fit on the output port here. Otherwise, I was going to see what its pressure ratings are, and at some point I'll get some fittings together to do that. These underflow, this is also dependent on the size of the ports. It doesn't come with, what's also disappointing is it comes with just normal nozzles. You have different 40, 25, 15 degree fan, which spreads the stream out to a wider area, a little bit lower pressure, but once again, more productivity. And then the 0 degree, which is just a straight stream or a little jet. But there's ones of these which have like a little ball bearing, so it's the straight jet, but the jet spirals around. Sometimes you'll see where somebody's pressure washed sidewalk, and you'll see these spirals. This did not come with one of those bits, and I don't know why. I know they're a bit more expensive, but that's a little bit of a shame. At least everything stores on the unit. And once again, these flexible hoses aren't the most durable. But when you're using them with something like a cheap pressure washer, the flexibility means it's a lot easier to drag these around. I will give them credit for the book. It's these Chinese products have really improved on that. They're definitely written by someone or I was a lot familiar with Western languages and manual layouts. It's actually just a decent manual that really does explain in detail how to use it all. Anyway, we'll do a little unboxing here. Let's see what we got in the box here. We got some screws, extra O-rings, manual, styrofoam, pretty carefully. Quite a bit of work to engineer packaging. We've got our wheels. We've got our accessories to hold various things. Our 4 nozzles, although it doesn't come with one of those little rotating nozzles, which is annoying. We have a siphon canister, so when it blows through, it draws, soap or whatever you put in there. We have the front part of our wand and or both pieces, 2-piece wand, so they could probably get it to fit into the box. This would appear to have never been opened. It just may not have been. It's kind of funny they put the plastic bag in there, but it isn't really wrapping the product. Anyway, so I took this as a cheap, I've been needing a pressure washer, so might as well get a free one. If you can get a free one, I do appreciate everybody who's been subscribing to my channel. It does help me get free stuff, even if it's junk. At least I'm not out the money. This thing is tiny, that's for sure. Kind of looked bigger in the photos. See what the cat thinks of the box. There's not a lot in there. It's just a box. Now you're going to hide out. Does include a poker, I guess, if you get some debris caught in one of the nozzles. Tiny's trying to decide if she likes those little strings that were tying the hose together. Sorry about some of the construction noises. So one of the reasons these have such long hoses now is to help prevent you from having a washer, the electric pump, right next to where you're washing. It generally is designed for water to roll off, but there's still some pretty big vents along the side, along the back, so the motor doesn't burn up. They have this manual safety lever, which I was just noticing, which I don't mind. Anyway, we're going to attempt to see we're at 118 volts. We're going to take a look at our watts here. A little over 1300 watts. I definitely have some old buildup. We have the 0 degree red tip, so this is the highest pressure. I mean, it puts out good pressure. It's just a tiny nozzle, tiny flow rate. And so if you want to clean something like this, you're stuck going back and forth, back and forth. We'll see about a lower pressure nozzle. Here's the 15 degree nozzle, but I doubt it's going to have enough, even if we get close. I guess if I'm really close, I guess that's working for this. But now you see why I was talking about they should have had the 0 degree jet nozzle, but with the rotating tip, because a lot of times, even with big multi-horsepower, 10 horsepower pressure washers, you need a lot of pressure to knock off whatever built-up gunk you have. And so the solution is the special spinning nozzle, which you can order. It's a relatively standard set of fittings that these cheaper washers use. And you have a high pressure leak or the pump's going out. If you have it sitting here like this and you periodically hear it cycling, which I've heard a lot of people own these basic pressure washers because they're lightweight, small, and easy to deal with. A lot lighter weight than the gas powered ones, but man, I kept walking by people's houses when I'm going down the street, you just hear it. You hear the pump cycling on and off, on and off. Trying it vertically oriented, that may be a little bit better. I like that better because I can get the corner because on these fan ones there's still a little bit more pressure along the two outward edges of the fan. So if you can get one edge close, then it provides basic cleaning power, and then you can actually kind of sweep back and forth. Might as well try cleaning up this old map. That's really what these are optimized for. And a bit wider nozzle to 25 degrees is probably what I'd use on cars. Maybe even this one, I wouldn't just get super close. So the 15 degree is basically your friend. You just have to be real close. And then some of these harder dark spots, you have to use the 0 degree. And the casters do lock on in case you don't want it to go rolling around. At least all 4 of them lock. So that's about all I got for this little pressure washer. Seems to work, for 120 bucks. At least it has a decent motor. It looks like it's 1.5 horsepower motor, pulling a little over 1,300 watts on the wall. Plus, it's a brush motor, so you can have the high torque levels to run that pump and be lighter weight. So it's pulling 1 3/4 horse from the wall, delivering about 1.5. The bottom of this unit got warm. It wasn't getting hot, but the thing about pressure washers is they are cooled by the water that goes through them. This is absolutely not rated for hot water at all. And I'm sure it's not because the materials will melt down. It's just because it will overheat and burn up. Either the pump will fail, or it seize, or the motor will burn up. This thing really is designed, and all these are designed for cold water to run through them to act as a coolant. It was just surprising how warm the pump housing would get, even with some pretty cool tap water that comes from my taps. If you use a 0-degree pressure jet nozzle, the pump has to work the most and is generating the greatest amount of heat. The wider the fan nozzles that you use, the lower the power. When I did that wattage rating, it was with the 0-degree or the most restrictive nozzle, so we could get an idea of the max power output. But they really should put 11 amps on that sticker, because people are going to run these with this like super thin 18 or 16 gauge extension cords, and running an 11 amp motor on a 50-foot 16 gauge extension cord is actually pushing the limits. You can get a lot of heat. I would always recommend a 12 gauge extension cord with these pressure washers. Anyway, one last view of Tiny there. She's inspecting, and we'll see you in the next video.